All right, hello everybody. Welcome back. Welcome to new viewers to my channel. Today we're playing some more Stormworks. So in the last video there, the series that I put out was my second attempt to try to get the drill ship fueled so we can go out and drill. And unfortunately, it just keeps exploding. It just keeps exploding. So it doesn't seem to matter what I do. The ship just keeps exploding. So it's just so large and the ocean pushes it around so much that we can't load and unload in the traditional sense. We can't get fuel in the traditional sense. Plus, also, this setup that I have here is breaking my fuel tanks. I don't know why it shouldn't. It defies reason and it defies logic. So the valve is closed, and when I input fuel, I turn on the pump, it pushes fuel down into the tank, right? And then we have this tank over here. So the only thing that I can think of is I use a jet fuel hose, and there was still jet fuel in the hose, and some of the jet fuel got sucked into the diesel tank, and the tank stopped working. That's the only thing that I can think of. So now what I have to make sure of is that I'm using these blank hoses for diesel and blank hoses for jet fuel, and I can't mix them around because otherwise we'll mix the liquids. It's a very annoying process. And then I have to change this around. So this doesn't connect to this. This is independent. That's the only thing that I can think of, because the engines did start up and then they stopped. So they started up, but as soon as I hook up, they stopped. So I could only assume that the hoses and the extensions that I was using had fluid in them. So lots and lots of problems. So now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of trying to reimagine the hull a little bit here after dealing with all those problems. So now what I have to do is I have to sell all the jet fuel again, which sucks. So why did I turn that off? Yeah. So I have to find a way to sell all the jet fuel again. It's a good thing I have a few different types of ships, right? I have one ship that'll do really well. It's not the tanker. It's the exploration, the research vessel. I'm going to take the refinery off it, and it has an 80,000 liter tank. So I could just do 2 quick trips, and I could sell the jet fuel, and then that'll bring us back up over to 1 million where we were. That's just, obviously it's going to take time, and it's going to be annoying. And then the other thing is, I have to use the truck now. Well, okay, we'll have to think about this in 2 ways, but I have to use the truck now to what? I have to use the truck to bring the fuel to the dock, and when this ship leaves port, it has to be full of fuel, right? Because it's too risky. It's too risky to be sitting at port, right? The ship is just too large. And the way that the hoses work, I don't know, the game is broken. It's broken. I'm just going to say that right now. The game is broken. There are many features that they added to the game, which I feel they just didn't do enough. I just feel they didn't do enough testing on. They didn't do enough testing. And instead, they leave it up to us to do the testing and then to report the errors, which I don't know. I've got mixed feelings about, because, you know, look at, I'm like almost 10 hours maybe or more on this thing. So yeah, so all I'm trying to do is just reshape the front of the ship, if I can. That's all. I figured after 2 failed attempts, I now know what I need to do. So now I'm just thinking like I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to get this thing to drill. We're gonna try. We're gonna try, and I'll just keep making error reports on GeoMeta until hopefully they decide to fix it. But the other issue I'm seeing now is that once I'm anchored to the, we'll see. I don't want to preach to the choir before, you know, before we have these problems. Okay, so that's probably going to be something like that. So yeah, I was just doing a few things, just trying to see like what would kind of make this. The ship is really unstable. It's really unstable. It's unstable because of its height. And there's no real way to address that, unfortunately. Like, it is what it is. So yeah, so what I'm trying to do here is just reimagine the hull a little bit, try and get away from the wedge, I guess. And of course, a lot of this was off center. So yeah, we're just trying to get rid of the wedge. Right, I had it, and then I was saying that I was having troubles with displacement. So probably what we'll do is we're going to shift all this back. We can shift the distillers back. We'll shift this back, and then that will give us this. Should give us all this free weight in the front. And I want to open this up here. Right, like we could spawn. No point in spawning that. So this forward. Yeah, so nothing like putting in all that work and then just having it fail. The ship started and then it stopped. And you know, there's no real way to read what's in the tank, right? You can read the liquids. Unless there's no way to read what's the different types of liquids that are in the tank. Unless you go to have access to the fluid meter and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that's what I'll have to do. I don't know. I could get diesel to flow through here. I could get diesel to flow into these guys. But it would stop. It would stop. I had the pumps turned on, but it would stop. So the only thing that I could think of is the way I have it hooked up there. It doesn't like the fact that I'm trying to reverse the flow of liquid inside a pipe for some reason. I've never encountered that issue so far. I've been able to use pipes to flow liquid in both directions, but now it's telling me that I can't. It's telling me that if I try and do that, it's just gonna break. So yeah, so I have to add a separate connection now to fill the tank. Yeah, it's just kind of annoying. All right, so that's gonna kind of be the new front. Looks all right, and then the other thing is spare anchors. Spare anchors. I definitely need more spare anchors on here. And like I said, the anchors, they don't really do much. They're just more like while they were supposed to keep the ship stable while I'm refueling in a storm because the magnets don't want to work when there's a tsunami. But now the ship is so large that even the magnets that I have won't work to hold it down. So, like I say, I really don't know. You know, I'm being told by Stormworks that it's my build, but at the same time, I'm like, look, you know, I can physically build it within the space, right? So I accept that part of it is the design, sure. You know, it's like they just don't want to accept responsibility that maybe, just maybe there's some parts of their game that do things that, you know, just maybe their game does things. I don't mean it in a bad way. I just mean like we got the rope update, right? But we didn't get a hose update, and as you can see, you know, there's still a few things, right? Still a few bugs they could definitely address. So hopefully they do. That's why I'm really sus. Excuse me. I'm really suspect about this space. Okay, because I had issues with the crane here. Right, it moves. It moves. It moves a substantial amount. It shouldn't, even though there's no electricity to it and it's tied down. It's just the sheer weight. It moves. The sheer weight of it moves. And they are telling me that, well, it's just the way that I made my build. So what was happening was this arm would all of a sudden swing up and it would just smash into the front of the ship and the ship would explode. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, why? Right? That's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen because it's just not supposed to happen. Because I'm told that when you put 0, when you have a value of 0 on the velocity pivot, it's not supposed to move, even though it has weight to it. But that's false. That's false. It will move. And that's why you see like people try and build these spaceships and you start heading up towards space and you have a door on it that is just a door, right? Even though it has a magnet, it's still gonna move around, and it's gonna cause the ship to move around and do strange things, right? So there's all these like, because it's mass. Essentially, what it comes down to is you have a large amount of mass moving around a pivot, and it can't move like where the numbers tell it wants to move. So then the numbers have an error, and then it just causes. So yeah, it's a game. I get that, but like all games, you have to understand like there's a limit, right? There's a limit to what you can add, and then you start adding in like space and these other things where you have different types of physics. Now you're actually changing the game. So no longer is it Stormworks Search and Rescue, but now it's a space simulator at the same time, but it doesn't have the compatibility of a space simulator. It still has Stormworks build and rescue physics, right? So, yeah, a few of things. It'll be interesting to see how they tie all that together. I'm hoping it's not going to be nothing but issues, but we don't know. So, that's all. And it's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. You're programming. You're creating, you're writing code and and all that stuff. It's not going to be easy. You're going to encounter problems. But that's part of it. But just to create something and then to be continuously changing it over and over, to me, that's when you start having issues that we're having, right? You got to draw the line and say, okay, unfortunately, this is the game. And then if we want to add a DLC, would be like different instances of the game. All right. So now we're just kind of chopping through the front, chopping through the front, chopping through the front. And just trying to see some logic that has to get moved there. That was our slurry tank right at the front. So we're going to have to redesign a couple of these tanks. And I'm going to change where they are and how they sit on the ship. It didn't roll. It had a pretty wicked list in it. Once I emptied all the fuel out of it, it sits good, right? Because when I test it, I try and test it under full load. Under full displacement. But you never know, right? Yeah, that's why unfortunately, you have to test it. And test it and test it. Because maybe it performs well just sitting in the dock. But then you head out to sea and a wave hits it and it capsizes. Like we saw there. Oops. That's one of the unfortunate things, fortunate and unfortunate about testing. You got to test and test and test and test and test. And just when you think you've done enough testing, you got to do some more testing. So I try my best, not to get frustrated, but sometimes it's really hard, not to get frustrated. Okay, so that will kind of be the front of the ship. And now what we need to do is we need to right, like in theory it could come right out to come out to there. Be our new nose. Yeah, so I figured, you know what? Now that I know what I have to do, unfortunately, I have to depart fully loaded with fuel, but I'll have enough fuel to make it to the drill site anyways. So that just means I have to take a different ship to sell the jet fuel, and then I'll have enough money to buy the diesel to fill this ship up. And we're going to test a couple of things before I depart this time in the dock here. We're going to test the loading of the fuel and the unloading of the fuel. It's just, you just got to have that, right? If I happen to make a mistake, let's say I'm playing with some friends and I make a mistake and I run out of fuel. Well, one of them could always run out fuel to this ship, and that's why it's important to have the ability to add fuel to it. All right, so that's kind of the shape. Now we sort of have to tie it all in. So it goes to there. All right, that should be enough of it out of the way. So now we can either, this is the hard, so, right, this is where we kind of have to figure out, like, oh, I must have messed up here. Yeah, so at some point we're going to be changing direction here. At some point. Okay, so we'll have to get rid of. Like, that's pretty good. Has a nice wide sort of. We'll have to see how it transitions though, because it's come on, mouse. Yes, at some point it should be tapering in. Now, I don't know if let's just finish this and let's just see. Oh, that's good. Right. how that's gonna work. That's not bad. That's a little better than the it's a shape, right? Which is kind of what we want, you know. We sort of want a shape, right? A ship is a shape, you know. So, and then we'll have to. Well, you can just take this logic and just put it inside. Excuse me. I was just using yellow, um, just as a filler color. Just helps me see my. Okay, helps me see what I did. Oh, I see. So this has to come down. This has to come down one more. Let's see here. And then this should be. No, not like that. Maybe. Should be like that. No, this should be inverse. Yes, like that. And that should be two. All right. Oh, screenshot. Whoops. I'm pretty confident with everything that's on here. We can drill. Oops, pretty confident we can drill. I know it'll refine. Pretty confident it'll refine. Okay, so that is the new nose. We'll just get rid of this logic because we have logic. Fix that. And let's. Right, and what this is going to tell us is. Yeah, my other mouse quit on me, so I'm having to use this wireless mouse, which shares resources with my keyboard. It's not the ideal situation. All right. Yes, I got it off Amazon. I like Amazon's good. Wish, all those places. The only issues is when you have issues, right? And you try and talk to somebody, and you can't get a hold of somebody, or you talk to somebody finally, and it's just the language barrier is can be a bit challenging. Right? Like they're always like, you know, you want free stuff? It's like, no, I don't want free stuff. Just send me one that isn't broken. All right. Right, it's so hard to get refunds. It's always my big thing about that. Is, you know, when we manufactured things here, I'm not saying it was always easy to get a refund, but you could contact the factory or the manufacturer. You know, the customer service. There's a lot better customer service when we manufacture here at home versus abroad. All right. So, oh, I can't bring that out because, okay, so that's fine. I'm just trying to patch this up and we'll see how it looks. I might end up having to make it taller. I don't know if I will. This might be, I might actually bring up to here. Let's spawn it in. Let's see how it looks. See if I need to bring it up or not. Oh. The bottom feeder. Uh-oh. I forgot to patch something somewhere. No, I did not forget to patch anything. There, you see how the huge change in displacement? It just sinks like a stone. No, there's got to be a hole in here somewhere. Oh yes, I betcha. Here, we'll get rid of these spawners. That's probably what it is. It's spawning slurry. That whole space now, it's trying to spawn slurry in the whole front of the ship. It's probably what it is. Oh, and I'll have to get rid of that and that. Yeah, there we go. That's nice. It's a lot better than it was. And then what I need to do is I need to change. Oh yeah, look at how laggy it is. I need to change the freshwater tank locations. So that's partly the reason why it's so low in the back. It's got these about 100,000 liters of fresh water in the back. So now that's kind of works. It would be nice to shape the back, like shape the sides. I just don't know if I can in Stormworks. This year, but like back, maybe just have it roll. I don't know if I can do that. Like we would have to. Yeah, you know what? Let's see here. If I paint this. Watch it blend in a little bit here. I just kind of get the feeling like this. there, but I get the feeling like maybe I should bring that back, this back a bit more, you know? Like if we got rid of that. And I mean, this isn't going to be exposed anymore. This we're going to bring down on top of here. Essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make this a little more stable, right? Like, I understand it's going to be tall on the sides because of these distilleries and that. And it was nice to have this way high up in the air. It's just a little too far forwards. So if I can bring it back a little bit, and just like now that I've sailed it in the ocean and I've seen the problems that we've had, I just want to redesign it just a little bit so that way it's just a little bit better. There we go. All right. Yeah, I want to design it so it's better. I can't describe what better means, but all I know is I want it to be different than what it is. Okay, so we can take that now. Oh, come on, mouse. We can move that down, and if we shift that down, let's do that here. Just like that. Cut that. Oh, that fits there. It's perfect. Except for those, which is just the generator. So if we paste that there, oh yeah, okay, I lost logic on two of this. Okay. Alright, that looks a bit better. I actually kind of like that. Just gives us, it gives us a little bit of a surface area to work off of. That's this color here. Yeah, and then our freshwater tanks back here they were directly above the let's get this, the engines. So we'll change that, and we'll have to give access to that area down below, and then maybe what we'll do is we'll put the water tanks more towards the center of the ship. It sails good. The ship sails good. I really like that. Pushes a little bit to the left. But one thing you notice is that with the water jets are always going to do that for whatever reason. They just seem to be, they're a little bit too powerful for diesel. I guess that's what they're designed for, but they're just a little bit too powerful. I don't know if they've worked out those bugs yet. Okay, so we can do essentially. Come on, get rid of that. We can do that. I guess this is what I want to do. And then I was thinking either we got to block that in somehow. Yeah, so we can bring this across like how I had it before. We can bring this across. I think we can, not there. It would have to be like that, right? We could bring this into there. Let's see. I suppose that would just be like an open deck. Yeah, that might work a bit better actually. And it surprisingly, it sits on top of the water. Surprisingly, it doesn't sink. You know, like it'll move, like you get regular movement and stuff, but it doesn't sink deep into the ocean like I thought it was going to. Sometimes when you get hit by waves, and you kind of sink into the ocean. But yeah, I just feel it's one of those things where I just have to be patient. And when you're in the deep ocean, waves don't really affect the ship. It can easily glide over top of the waves and that. It's just when you're loading and unloading, you're vulnerable because you're close to shore. And you're limited in your movements. You know, there's a lot going on. You're tied off. All that stuff. If I was drilling, I feel like I probably would only have half the problems. Because a wave can come in and it can chuck the ship. No problem. We can always move back to the location as long as the wellhead doesn't explode. You know, things like that, of that nature. So we'll have to see, right? I might still need a submersible to go down there. I might still need cameras so I can see what's happening underwater. Like all that stuff I don't really know yet. Because I still haven't really tested it, right? That's still what we're trying to do. Is test the ship. All right, I like that. Now, if we make this is black, right? It doesn't matter because the other surface is all green. Right, so what I'm going to be doing after this is I'll be doing a supply run in the, what ship is it? My exploration ship, because it has it has a cargo hold on it, a tank that's 80,000 liters. So if I do it's the fastest ship I have. If I do 2 trips in that, and I can safely unload with it, all that good stuff, right? There's not going to be the frustrations. Right, and because the fluid filters don't work, there's no way to put filters on your tanks. So if your tanks get mixed, they get mixed, and then you can't use them; they become useless. But there's no way to put a filter on it to say diesel only, whatever only, whatever only. So yeah, I'm a little chapped about that too. That our filters don't work. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, I could keep picking apart, for days and days and days. At the end of the day, yeah, the game has issues, and I just hope that they resolve. I hope that they resolve most of those issues before they release any more paid content. It would be nice for them to fix the issues that they have with the content that they have. Right? Don't release more paid content until the content that people already pay for works. Kind of makes sense. I learned that the hard way in Roblox. Okay, so I'm just testing out here. I'm just trying to think, what if I don't know, create this front area into a little room, right? Let's see. We can do we've already got this here. What are we going to do with this here? It would be nice to put a ceiling on here. If we did that. And that. Now these tanks are off by 1. Yeah, the only thing I could think of is I used one of those hoses, and it had jet fuel in it, and it would have sucked jet fuel through. It would have sucked jet fuel through. Unfortunately. So, and I mean, I don't know. To me, it's stuff like that, right? It's like, man, I spent I don't know how many hours, all that time dodging waves, right? Trying to unload the darn ship, and then I get stopped by a contaminated hose, you know, because the actual liquid filters that we have won't you can't set it to filter specific types of liquids, which I don't know. Somebody else was complaining about it. It was kind of stupid, right? But maybe when they release the compressed gases, maybe finally that's when they're going to go over those updates. Finally, they'll resolve the issue about being able to the filters. I'm hoping, because in the meantime, now we just have to redesign a few things here. And I'm going to need some more ballast tanks as well. Ballast tanks are really important. All right, make sure that's everything except for those water hoses. And that there, and that there. Okay. Disable that for a minute. Yeah, because every other time I've used these custom tanks, I've never had any issues, even when I've reversed the flow and all that stuff. So that's why I was caught off guard. And I loaded it and I reloaded it and I reloaded it just to see, to test and test and test to see what I can do. And no, unfortunately, that's what it turned. That's the only reasonable conclusion I can come to. Yeah, I reused a hose that had some diesel in it. So even though when you're selling, for example, which is to me kind of stupid, but whatever, it runs the tank to 0, but the tank is at 0 and there's still volume in the hose, right? So the hose isn't completely at 0. I don't know. Well, that's just something else I'll have to watch for. Remnants. Okay, so this, let's see. So it can either be like that, which I guess is okay, or I don't know if there's a way to, maybe there is, to tie that together. Three colors of gray. Now there isn't enough weight on the front because we're missing about 200,000 units, 150,000 units of liquid. All right. Oh no, I want maybe this instead. Just a little. No, I don't like that. All right. Wait. Ah, that makes more sense. So this obviously it's like all builds. There's going to be a few more hours of just work. Is that how we? Yeah. A few more hours of just work. All right. Yeah, and I thought like, okay, I'm gonna be in these big deep waves and they'll be crashing over the front of the ship. But this ship does a really good job staying on top of the water. Right, so essentially, we've got everything on here that we had on our oil rig. Absolutely everything. All the same systems. I did not change anything. Let's see, that can open up again. Yeah, it was strange. It was the weirdest thing. It was all of a sudden I couldn't suck any fuel. And then when I turned this on, what is it? I guess that feeds in from here. Yeah, I turned this pump on, and I wasn't able to get any diesel since it reversed from here. So we're gonna have to sort that out. Which is fine. If we have to have three separate things, then we have to have three separate things. Okay, so now we have this floor here. Come on, mouse. You can do it. Don't be shy. No idea what that was. All right, so we got that. We just have to do this oil pipe here. I better make sure that we're sealed on the other side. All right, so we could probably let water. I'll have to have a drain in there somewhere. Okay. So that's the new front end. We should cut this back by 1. All right, now let's see if that changes. See if that changes our displacement just a little bit here. Now we got a lot. See, we got a bit more. Oh yeah, look at that. You know, it's a lot higher in the rear. I like that. That's nice. See if I can get in it. Get in it, check it out. Right, and what I did was we emptied the tanks in the back. So we still need to add 3 tanks. We need to add water to it, add slurry. I suppose we don't need the fresh water. The fresh water was just, it was just for the slurry filters. But we probably do want that. We'll replace that. So I don't know if I can get, and then that, I don't know if I can get into the captain's chamber from here. I'll try it. Let's get laggy. Come up here. No, I don't think I can. No, we'll have to change that. I have to be redesigned a little bit so I can get in there. Take a look at this. I'll access it from the back here. Well, that's a bit better. All right, we're going to end this one here, and then thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.